mathematics. Okay, today we are moving from number operation to another interesting lesson known as fractions. Fractions. So under numbers, today we are going to talk about fractions. So by the end of the lesson, you should be able to understand the word 1/2 and 1/4 or 1/4. So when you hear half, you know what it means. When you hear 1/4, you also know what it means, or 1/4. Alright, then you should also be able to determine the number of halves or quarters in a given number, or determine the halves or quarters of group of things. This is going to be very interesting. Alright, now let's move on with our keywords. We are going to make use of certain words very often. Our first word is whole. W-H-O-L-E, whole. What does it mean? It means a very complete object. An object which is complete, which nothing has been taken out of it, or there is no breakage on that object. That object is known as a whole object. Let's say, for example, I have something in my hand, an object in my hand. This object is whole. That means we have not divided or we have not cut it into any piece. It's whole like this. So it is a complete object. Very good. Our next keyword is fraction. The word fraction. What does it mean? Listen very carefully. It means one of several portions. One of several portions. Let's take this thing for an example. In the first showcasing, I told you it's a complete object, so you can call it a whole. Alright, the moment I start cutting this into pieces, into several pieces or portions, I'm going to have fractions. Depending on the number I pick, that will tell the number of fraction you have. So when I cut this into pieces, or I divide them to any number at all, I'm going to have a fraction. That is why we said a fraction is one of several portions. Good. Our next keyword is numerator. Numerator. Let's try and spell the word numerator. N-U-M-E-R-A-T-O-R. Numerator. What does it mean? A part of a fraction that is above the line. Okay? We are going to know how to write numbers in a fraction form. So you have some part of it which will be known as numerator. So anytime you hear me saying numerator, it means the number or the part of the fraction which is above the line. So there's going to be a line that will divide two numbers. Good. Then the final keyword is denominator. Denominator. Let's spell it. D-E-N-O-M-I-N-A-T-O-R. Denominator. It means the part of a fraction that is below the line. So the one that is above the line is known as the numerator, and the one that will be below the line is known as, or will be called, denominator. All right, let's move on. Fractions. We can get fractions from the whole or from a whole object. So there are many objects around us that we see or we can see as a whole. You can have an orange in a whole. That means the orange have not been cut into any piece. You can have mango, apple, pawpaw, different objects, bread. You can have it in a whole. All right. But what do we see? These complete objects, when they are divided, what do we see? When we divide them, the moment you divide them, you have a fraction. Fraction occurs. Remember I told you that fraction is one part of several portions. So your apples, your oranges, your bananas, your watermelons, your bread, the moment you cut them into pieces, you are going to have fractions. Okay, so we get fractions from a whole. That is what I want you to understand. All right, let's move on to the word half. Half or 1/2. Okay, what does it mean? 1/2 or half of an object is obtained when the whole object is divided into 2 equal parts. I'm taking it again. We said 1/2 or half is obtained when a whole is divided into 2 equal parts. Let's take, for example, my object. I have not divided it, so it is one whole. It's in its complete form. The moment I divide it into 2 equal parts, so I folded it into 2. I'm going to cut it. The moment I cut it into 2 equal parts, I'm going to have my half. So this part is half, this part is another half from the whole. So you call this part 1/2. The other part to 1/2. When they come together, they'll give you a whole or one whole number. How do we write it? How do we write 1/2 or half? Hope you can see it on the board. 1/2. 1/2. You can also write it this way. Can you see a line dividing the 2 numbers? Yes. Do you remember the key words? The numerator and the denominator. So which one is going to be our numerator? The 1. The 1. So this is our numerator. Then the 2 is going to be our denominator. So we have a fraction. So a fraction is made up of a numerator and then the denominator. So in this case, the half, the 1/2, it is one part of it. When the thing is divided into 2, one part of it. This one represents the one part that is what? Taken out. And the 2 means when you divide the thing into 2, you are going to have 2 items. So the total of the items, when you divide them, that takes the numerator. So when you divide the items into 3, you can have 1 over 3. So the 3 that is at the bottom or that is below the number tells the what? The number in which the item of the whole has been divided into. In this case, I have divided my object into 2. So my denominator is going to have 2. One part of it is the 1. So when I take one part of it, we said 1/2. The other part is also 1/2. Put them together, you get 1 whole. Hope you are following. That is very interesting. You can also practice this by using an orange. So if you have your full orange, you call it a whole. The moment you peel it and then you divide it into 2 equal parts, you are going to have halves. 1/2 is one part of it. 1/2 is another part. Good. Practice dividing things into halves so that you understand it better. Alright, let's move on to the other part. How do you find or how do you determine 1/2 of a number? So if I have 2 wholes, that means 2 oranges, and I divide all of them into halves, and I ask you to tell me the number of halves you can find in 2, what will you tell me? You are going to have 4 halves. On the board are a group of objects. So we have groups of objects on the board. So number 1, how many groups do we have? We have 6 oranges in this group. How many squares do we have in this group? 4. How many oranges in this circle? 2. Good. Let us determine half of these groups of items. So you can say half of 6 because there are 6 things in this group. So when you say half of 6, it means you should divide this group into 2 equal parts. These items in this group into 2 equal parts. So it's asking you half of 6 will give you what? You are going to do that. So the second one too is saying half of 4. What will you get? So that means when you divide this into 2 equal parts, what will you get? Remember I said half means dividing the object or the whole into 2 equal parts. So these are groups of objects. You can divide them into 2 equal parts too. Alright, so the last one too is 2. So when you divide these 2 into 2 equal parts, what will you get? That is the meaning. So in this case, we are determining half in a group of objects. Alright, so half of 6, what will you get? So that means I have to divide these 6 items into 2 equal parts. So look at it. 1, 2, 3. One side, 1, 2, 3 at the other side. So if I draw a line like this, that means I have divided the oranges into 2 equal parts. So one part is how many? 3. So whenever you see half of 6, the answer is 3. It is 3 because you have 3 items as one part of the half, and you have 3 at the other part of the half. Good. Let's move on to the second one. Half of 4. Half of 4. Divide 4 into 2 equal parts. What will you get? You can either choose to do this. So you have 2 items here, another item here. So 2 is at one part, another 2 is at the other part. So half of 4 will give you 2. Let's move on to the last one. Half of 2. What will you get? You divide it into 2 equal parts. One here, one on the other side. So the answer is going to be 1. Isn't this interesting? Try and practice more at home. Don't worry, when you come on Zoom too, we'll do more of this for you to understand better. Now let's move on to 1/4 or 1/4. Okay, we have 1/4 and 1/4. Quarter means what? Whenever you hear quarter, it means the item has been divided into 4 or 1/4. Do you remember our ordinals? 4. The ordinal name for 4 is fourth. So that means that when you divide the item into 4 equal parts, one part of it is 1/4. That means the whole has been divided into 4 equal parts. Alright, I still have my object in my hand. I'm going to divide this into 4 equal parts. So I'll fold it into 2. So first of all, I'll get my half. Then I'll make another fold because I want to get 4 pieces. Okay, so what do you see? You see 4 of this. That means I have divided them into 4 equal parts. So one part of this is 1/4 or 1/4. The other part, another 1/4 or 1/4. The other part like that. The last one like that. So anytime you divide this item or a whole into 4 equal parts, it means you have a quarter or the 4th. How do you write these ones too? 1/4. Remember, I told you that the denominator will take the total number in which the item have been divided into. So my 1 whole, I have divided it into 4 equal parts. So my denominator will take 4. So when I take 1 out, it's representing the 1. 1/4. Are you following? Okay. So I can still ask you to find out 4th in objects. So if I have an orange or a mango or call it whatever you want to, or watermelon, okay, most of you love watermelon, good. And I ask you to get 1/4 out of this watermelon, how many pieces will you divide the watermelon into? 4. 4. So I'm going to divide this into 4 equal parts. So one part of it is known as 1/4. The other 1/4. This 1/4 and the last one 1/4. So let's remind them inside. 1/4, 1/4, 1/4, 1/4. When you put all of them together, you get 1 whole. Good. This is getting interesting, eh? Very good. What if you have been asked to find the 1/4, the number of 1/4 you get in 3 items or in 4 items? That means you've been given 3 oranges. What will you do? You divide each of them into 4 equal parts. So when you divide them into 4 equal parts, you start counting the quarters. Count them. So the total of the quarters you count will give you the answer. As simple as that. Alright, let us look out for 1/4 in groups of objects too. So that means that the objects will be divided into 4 equal parts. Let's have a look at these illustrations. Okay, children, we have groups of objects on the board. Number 1, how many oranges do we have in the box? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 oranges. in one group. The second one, 4 oranges in another group. Now let's determine the quarter of these objects in the group. So if they ask you to find the quarter of 8, that means you should divide this item into 4 equal parts. These items will be divided into 4 equal parts. So when you divide them into 4 equal parts, what will be the answer? So I'm going to divide this into 4 equal parts. So I have this as one part, the second part, the third part, and the last part. I have divided it into 4. 1 quarter, 1 quarter, 1 quarter, 1 quarter. How many objects or how many oranges do you see in one of the quarters? 2. 2. So quarter of 8 will give you 2. Hope you are following. The items in this group are 8. You've been asked to divide them into 4 equal parts. After dividing them into 4 equal parts, how many oranges do you get in 1 quarter? You get 2. That is the meaning of quarter of 8. Alright, let's look out for quarter of 4. So if you have 4 things and you need to divide them into 4 equal parts, as simple as that. How many objects do you see in 1 quarter? You see 1. So your answer is 1. That is all. Children, we have come to the end of this lesson too. Fractions are very, very interesting, especially if you understand them. Don't worry. When you come on Zoom, we'll discuss more. We'll have more examples to solve for you to understand. What did we do today? Today we talked about fractions. We got to know the numerator and the denominators of fractions. We said when the number is at the top, we call it numerator. The number below the number, or the line, the number below the line is known as the denominator. And the denominator always tells us the what? The denominators always tell us the number in which the whole has been divided into. So if the orange is divided into 3, you have the numerator to be what? Sorry, you have the denominator to be 3. If the object is divided into 6, we have the denominator to be 6. The denominator always tells you the number in which the item has been divided into. And the numerator always tells you, or the numerators always tells you that the part that has been taken out. So they will tell you the shaded part. The shaded part will always take the numerator. Alright, so we said half means the object has been divided into 2 equal parts. And then we looked at how to write half. And then we said quarter also means the thing is divided, or the object is divided into 4 equal parts. Okay, children, I will see you again on Zoom. Until then, I love all of you. Keep safe and be good children. Bye-bye.